What happens when your worst fear becomes your reality? Hi, I'm Brent Cassidy. Welcome to the Nightmare Success In and Out podcast, where we explore how to overcome your fears and nightmares to set yourself free. We're going to be exploring this topic with guys I was in Leavenworth with and others who served time at other prisons. We're going to be talking about life before prison, life in prison, and life out of prison. These stories can be inspiring, sometimes sad. There's some humor, but hopefully you can come away with a nugget of something that'll help you knock down some of the prisons you built up in your own mind. All right, folks, today, my guest, I was actually with at Leavenworth. We actually went through a program together where we had to live in it was the D block. And actually the D block was actually cleaner because of the program. So it wasn't all bad. But I want to introduce Randy Terrell from St. Louis, right here in my neck of the woods. Randy, welcome in, man.
Well, thank you. Good to see you again, Brett.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate it. So, Randy, we were just talking before we got on here. Let's see, what year did you get out of?
I got out in 15 right before 16.
Yeah, so you got out a little bit before I did. Yeah, so yeah. I think I got out at the end of November of 16. Yeah, so okay. About a year.
Yep.
Yeah. So Randy, I remember you were a guy that was always like I remember athletically, you're an athlete, right? I mean, did you grow up always in sports?
Yes, sir. Played football all of my life, and went to college, played football, and made it to the combine and for the NFL, but didn't get picked up, and then that's when life started as I knew it.
Well, let's walk back a little bit, because tell me what life was like, little Randy growing up.
I'm one of 6 children. Grew up born in. My mom is from Arkansas. My dad is from Mississippi, and then they moved here to St. Louis and raised us here. And good childhood. Went right in Hazelwood.
Yeah.
Hazelwood, Missouri. Grew up in Hazelwood, Missouri. And then attended Hazelwood East High School. And just played sports. And, both parents had jobs, worked, and great childhood. I can't play. I was the youngest, so I didn't go through the struggles that my older siblings.
Yeah, they practiced on them. Right. So because I remember Hazelwood, East, Central, all of them had good football teams.
Yes.
So when you got into sports, did you know, man, this is my deal?
Yeah, I was very competitive, and then having 5 older siblings, always, pushing, and you've been the youngest, you got to be. So I was always competitive. So I just fell in love with football and basketball right away, and that's all I just wanted to do all the time.
What positions did you play in football?
I was on offense. I was running back, and on defense, I played outside linebacker.
All right, quick. You had speed.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You don't just accidentally play running back or outside linebacker unless you can catch somebody or get away from somebody.
Yes, sir.
So you get into high school, things start going good, and then you head to college. How did that whole process work for you?
Awesome process. Brett, it was, graduated, and then got a scholarship, went to Monmouth College in Illinois. Star running back there for 4 years, and just always had the football was where I was going to do, and I didn't nothing else you could tell me that wasn't, the NFL was next, and then that's how I was going to in my mind provide for my family. That's what it was. And when that didn't happen, that's when life of not making bad decisions kind of started. Like, obviously, I always tell my fiance this, that I really should have something set up for athletes who don't make it, or they had to go through, because it's a serious set of depression that I actually experienced and went through, and made a lot of bad decisions because of it.
Well, and I think, Randy, I mean, such an honest statement too, because when you are locked in like that, first of all, athletes, when you're playing in the college world, they own you. I mean, that's your job. I mean, you are them. And you don't think about much of anything else. I mean, it's almost like you're programmed, regardless, that you're going to be whatever you can be with that university, and they're going to take all they can take while they have you. But you're so right. When it doesn't happen, you're just kind of dumped off to the side of the road, and you got to figure out plan B. And if there wasn't a plan B because they were so strong in directing at plan A, it's a hard shift.
Correct. It is definitely unbelievable. And I mean, there's nothing there. And then here comes the bad decisions for me to try to provide the lifestyle that I thought I was deserving of, and that I thought to provide. And, with that came, gambling. But then, you have buddies that did make it. Mm-hmm. I have friends. I'm sure one of my best friends is Tron Candidate. They used to play for the Rams, running back.
Yeah, he was quick.
So go and hang out with him and doing things. Of course, I didn't need anything because of course he'll take care of it. But to try to be perceived in the same way or try to keep up with that same lifestyle, you had to do things to get that money that you wouldn't do to try to be on the same level that they're on, and led to bad choice.
So that was the fork in the road for you. Is it, you got out of the sports world and had to take a fork and figure out a plan. Did you feel like, because at that time you're the baby of the family, what is everybody else doing in your family at that time?
They're working, and a couple of my brothers, and one of my brothers got in, and he was in trouble. But they all, a couple of them, looked at me as I was the one who went to college and done everything. But then, so I kind of felt like I let them down too. It was kind of like a lot of pressure of, you didn't, you were the one that was supposed to, but it didn't happen. So now what? It was kind of like, I felt like it was just a lot of depression on that, and making bad, and an embarrassment, honestly embarrassed because it didn't work out, and then you don't know what to do at that point. I mean, of course, the logical thing was to get a job and move on, but it just wasn't that easy. So it's just like many years of not working and scheming and making decisions, getting involved in things that you shouldn't have as far as the gambling and stuff, and just not making right choices and ending up in bad situations.
Was it easy for you to fall into or find people that, because your mind wasn't quite right, how did you fall into the people that you were around? Well, also being, I had family members that was into not doing the right things. So I grew up with them, and, of course, when I didn't make it, it's easier for people to project you into the wrong things, because you wasn't this top person, so now you just come do, whether it's sell drugs or whatever, just with the rest of us. Now you're just as normal as we are, which I never looked at myself as I wasn't as normal as they was. But a lot of people would love to see you because everybody else had you on such a pedestal. Yeah. That they would love to now to see you on the same level doing the negative things that they're doing. Yep. And it's just easy to fall into that level. So lead us into what happened, Randy. How did you get into your own nightmare?
So I got into, my nightmare was, of course, those years of not making the right decision. I got into selling drugs a little bit, got to doing that. And then after doing that, of course, you meet these people that are into all type of schemes of things, because, drugs come with any hustle. Any hustle comes into the drugs hustle. So I had a gentleman that was had cars. He was getting cars and retagging them. So he would go to a parking lot, say a dealership or something, and get the car, because at this time was the time when they would leave those key things on the car. So he would go get the car, and get it and sell it to you for nothing. I mean, I can probably have a 2000 at that time, let's say 2012, 2013 Escalade. I might buy it for $1,000.
Wow.
But
wow.
I go and have somebody retag it with a VIN number that that might say one that got wrecked at and that's in a junkyard. Mm-hmm. But you go and they go get that VIN number, put it on that car, get the title made up to it from the old VIN number from the VIN thing, and then sell it to somebody. But now it's $60,000.
Wow, that's a good margin.
Yeah. So at first, I was trying to be in it as far as just I got the guy who was getting the cars, and then the guy who was doing the VIN number. So I just wanted to play at that point I was just playing the middleman and just, hey, this guy, you give me so much for getting the car to the guy with the VIN number, and so I played that role basically the whole time. But of course, I had knowledge of it. But the fact of having knowledge of it, when the guy who was making the big money, selling it for the 60 or 70, got in trouble, then he wanted for him to get his charges down. Everybody down the line he's told on, basically. That's what he did.
Yeah.
So that's where the nightmare begins for me, because at this time I had my oldest child, but I had two little ones that was 5 and 4, and then my girlfriend was pregnant with my youngest that's 7 now.
Yeah.
And I finally, at this point, I actually had left that whole situation alone, left the drugs alone, and got my first job in June 2012.
That's crazy. So you were actually walking out and doing something the other way. Wow.
My dad had finally got through to me, Brett, and was like, hey, he drove dump trucks for all his life, and that's what he did. And he had got his own dump truck. And my mom they took a lien out on the house, got his own dump truck, and was doing awesome, like great. And he finally talked me into, hey, get into this. So he got me a job, my first job. I'm making $40 an hour. I'm like, okay. So I'm kind of leaving this world alone and saying, okay, this is what you should be doing and should have been doing. You got kids, you got a family now. This is the avenue that you need to be down. So I'm down this avenue. I'm fully engaged at this point. And of course, the knock at the door comes, and I get indicted, and we were going through that whole thing, and they weren't trying to hear anything. Conspiracy, you know what's going on, and unless you tell on this and this person, where you're taking the fall, and that's ended up. I wasn't willing to tell, I wasn't willing to cooperate. So we went through the whole court system, and I took a plea deal of I forgot how many months, what the whole breakdown of it was. But I took that deal, and the deal was that if I, of course, do the RDAP program, my attorney, I had Scott Rosenblum in right there in Clayton, and they were trying to get me into some mental thing in Kentucky to get the time even less. But
and I've heard a bad thing about Lexington, Kentucky. That is Bill was on here. Glazer was on here, I think, a few podcasts ago, and it's not a good place. And I've heard people say, hey, if you could go to Lexington and get your time, it's not a good place down there. It's not a good place.
I'm glad it didn't work out.
And that's saying a lot from two guys who went to Leavenworth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it didn't work out. So, yeah, the judge was like, am I missing something here to why we want to send him?
Yeah.
He's like, okay, no, you can't go to there. So went to Leavenworth, and that's how the nightmare began. And it was just
Well, let's back up a little bit, Randy, because when they knocked on the door, was that a complete surprise? Because you were already stepping out with your dad doing this other deal. I mean, it caught you by surprise. You didn't know that anything was going down.
No, it was a complete shock. And the crazy thing was I couldn't believe it. I was like, what are you guys talking about? I don't have nothing to do with no car stuff ring. And they was like, oh, well, we got your name on this. We got this person saying that you did this and that you provided the cars and that you was getting the titles, knew how to get the titles. And I'm like, really? So,
how long did that whole process take for you, Randy, when they knocked on the door to win your year?
A year and a half. It was a year and a half. And, it was definitely a nightmare because I was just like, it's no way. Like, all I do is go to work, go to work now. And I'm trying to learn at this point to be a father and do the right thing. I wasn't there as much, for my oldest because I was young and I wasn't making the right decisions when I had my oldest, who was 22. Mm-hmm. But these two at the time, and with the third one on the way, the fourth one on the way, I was just, getting into the point of as what most people consider normal life, of working, taking care of the kids, and doing things the right way. And it just was all shattered. It was shattered. And, all I could think about was, I'm going to leave this woman with 2 infants and one in her stomach at the time of me leaving.
A lot to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. How is she going to provide? How are we going to, how is it going to make it? Like, it was just like, it's not going to happen. It's not. So I was trying to do everything, but only thing we can assure me was
she with you through this process?
Yes. Yes. She was with me through the process. And, I'll actually never forget, like when they knocked on the door, my son was so young. He was still in her arms and stuff. And, it was just like, it was definitely, like the world crashing down she just looking at her, like, she's just like, huh? Like, what? With this, I got this infant in my arm right here, and I got another one that's 3, I think, at the time of it originally happening, and I got one in my stomach, and really? Like, he's finna leave, or he gotta leave? It was just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it was crazy.
How'd you get to Leavenworth?
So they allowed me to self-surrender. So ended up my mom, her, and my 2 kids. We all jumped in my mom's SUV, drove me down to Leavenworth, Corso, hit 70 heading west. I can remember it like it's yesterday. Stopped in Columbia. This time my 2 kids don't, know what's going on.
Right. They don't know where they're going.
No, it's crazy because I still get emotional just thinking about it. It's crazy. It's really crazy. And we're driving, so I'm holding them, I'm playing with them. We get down there, we get to Leavenworth, and, I'm going to the camp, but I see this big old building. I'm like, whoa. It's like, this is where you're going to be? I'm like, man.
And for those people who haven't seen Leavenworth, it looks an awful lot like Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
It really does.
Yes.
I mean, they built it in 1879, I think. 1879, 1875. And it's just that old looking. I mean, it's really intimidating.
It is absolutely crazy. It is amazing. It's very intimidating. Very.
So you had to go out and stand at that gate?
No, I'm in the parking lot, and I'm like, so I'm saying my goodbyes to my mom. Actually, and my niece was in the car, and I'm saying my goodbyes to them. And so I say my goodbyes to my daughter, and they're like, where are you going? Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, Daddy had to go in here for a while. So then my son, he's got to be 2. I think he's 2 at the time, one or 2. And he can see like the tears coming down my eyes.
Yeah.
And he wipes them. He said, Dad, what are you crying for? And I'm like, I got to go. And then, and so that heart broke me. I never, ever will want to ever like do that to them ever again, ever. That is like a divining and breaking moment that I never ever will do, ever will put them in that situation to not be here to provide for them.
Mm.
So I go in and I check myself in, the door slamming. I'll never forget the noise of that door slamming behind me when I check myself in.
It's weird.
And it was crazy.
Randy, isn't that a weird feeling? Because I think it almost feels like that you can feel your freedom coming off of you when you hear those doors slam. You walk through that fence, and it just feels different every step you take. There's something that happens that transforms you as you get to inside the bowels of that ugly building.
Yeah.
You feel different. You feel a lot different.
Yeah, it was a crazy feeling. And so the gentleman, as I go in, I had my, I thought I can bring in the pictures that I want to put on, inside of the thing. And I actually had my cell phone, and I just thought they'll just keep it in the, in your belongings and give it back to me whenever I got out.
You see on TV.
Right. So he's like, "What do you think? You going on vacation?" And I was like, "Nah, I just thought you could keep it." He's like, "No, you need to get back on the phone." It's kind of crazy. He told me you need to get on the phone and call them and tell them to come back and pick it up. So it was kind of like a double going through everything again because I actually had to call them.
I got to
let back out, go back out to the car all over again. It was like, oh man. So yeah, it was a crazy thing. So I go through that whole emotion again and go back in, and then they finally take me on in, but I still at that point never realized that I wasn't going to be in that building.
Well, let's talk about that, Randy, because I think that is also just a hazing period all in itself, because everybody goes into the big house regardless of where they're going. But your immediate thought is, do they all have it together? They know where I'm supposed to go because they put me in this cell here, and it feels like this cell I could be here for a while.
Right.
It's like I could be here for 3 or 4 years if they just forget to open and close this door.
Man, yes.
How long were you actually in the bowels of the basement of that place? Which is
probably was, I'm going to say about 3 to 4 hours.
Exactly. Those are long hours because you don't know and they won't tell you. You don't know if you're going to be there for an hour or an hour and a half or 4 days or 4 years.
Yeah. I don't know nothing. And of course, they don't tell you anything.
They don't say a thing.
They don't say a thing. All they do, which was another thing, right away, strip down, take your clothes off, and do all the other things that they have you to do.
Got to prisonize you.
Right. I'm like, oh, wow, here we go. So, and then they put you in a room by yourself, and you just sit there, and you don't know what's next. You prepare yourself for, okay, now I have to be, of course, you got all the stories before you went of what you should do, what you should not be doing, and how to conduct yourself. So, you gotta put this, get yourself and set in that mind frame of, okay, this is what I'm here now. Here we go. I got to prepare myself to what it's going to be. So just sat in that room, and then, finally they come and pick you up, and then I got in a van, and they took me, and we drove down. I'm like, oh, as you drive down that street, you're like, okay, this looks better.
This is better. It's a rundown looking schoolhouse, but it looks a lot better.
Yeah, this doesn't look like where I was just up there. Okay. Okay. They didn't lie to me. They didn't just tell me this, it's a camp, and they didn't lie to me. So, but I can remember walking through that front door of the camp, just like yesterday. It was just, I got met by, I can't remember his name. Not the older guy that used to get on everybody, not the counselor.
Oh, the old counselor, Swanson?
Not Mr. Good, Swanson. Not Goodwin, Swanson.
The evil one, Swanson.
Right, Swanson.
There was something wrong with him.
Yeah, 100%. And I see him, meet him, and it was crazy because how you walk in there and you go either way. And I'm just standing there. He's told me what to do. And if you forgot, we were actually in the first dorm together. Me and you, we were in
A2,
A1, A1,
A1, A2,
yeah. We were in there together, and they walked me up there, and showed me where my bunk was at, and I just laid down. I laid down, and I laid there for hours. I probably slept all the way to chow, of course. So they came and done the count because I didn't realize what count was. So that was the first time I got the, hey, get your bunkie up thing. I'm like, what is this? What are they talking about? So then I stood up for that, and I didn't even go to chow. I just laid there and just found myself unconsciously reaching for my cell phone on my hip for days. I've done that for days, thinking that I can just grab his phone and call. And it just was crazy. Just that was yeah.
What were you like, Randy, when you got there and you're laying there and realizing this is it? And for those talking about where Randy was at that point, you're just in this huge dorm. There's probably, I think, 50 bunk beds, and there's ugly metal lockers, and you got a plastic chair. That's your world.
Yeah.
And then you've got this, the bathroom that's in the middle there. I think there was 3 showers, 3 or 4 toilets, 3 or 4 urinals, and about 6 or 7 sinks or whatever. That was it. That's what your world is shrunk down to. How did you think you were going to handle or be a part of what your strategy was to get through such a different environment?
At the time, I just didn't know. But being, of course, and that's why I actually preach this to my son and to little kids when I coach football is sports actually kind of prepared me for the situation.
Yep.
Adapting to the moment, adapting to the environment of going to different camps of football and basketball. So you in that dormitory setting and having to just be aware of your surroundings is kind of how I approached it for me to make it was, okay, you've been to these camps before and where you guys had to stay in dorms with these bunk beds like this and things like that. And, so that's the mindset. Once I got there and I seen the setup, even down to the bathroom, down to having the shower, same thing as going to camps and stuff. So that's how I approached it with that. But of course, I know I wasn't dealing with the same type of people and environment. But I just always was aware, and I'm kind of a disciplined person as far as well,
you had to be being in sports. To be any good in sports, you got to be disciplined.
Right.
I think that's an interesting analogy, though, because I kind of felt the same way. Because I think sports gives you, I played a lot of basketball growing up, and going to the camps and having to get and adapt to the people around you, and playing the sport itself. You're as good as you are. People accept you if you're good. That you can kind of get accepted in. And as far as people reaching out to you, did you have anybody that said, "Hey, I'm going to help you, Randy, kind of get adapted to plugged in to this world"?
Yeah. When I came in, of course, normally it's people that are from your city. Mm-hmm. They find out where you're from. They come in and they try to say, "Hey, if you need anything." So it was guy from St. Louis, Jones. I know his last Martez. Yeah. Martez Jones.
Martez Jones. Yeah. He's a good basketball player, by the way. He was good in pickup ball.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember Martez Jones.
He took me under the wing and it was like, "Hey, I got this in my locker. You need this. Just let me know. This will get you through." He kind of ran down the ropes to me how things worked as far as child, the standing up count, and things like told me about the weight room, the weight pad outside, and what we could do and what we shouldn't be doing out there. And that was my guy. That was my guy. That's so we would talk for hours.
It's such a big deal, don't you think, Randy? That somebody, and it always seems like it happens. I was so thankful that I had a couple of guys reach out to me, because you're just like a newborn baby in there. You don't know where to go, what to do, how to do it, and you get somebody that takes you and says, "Hey, here's what we do," and they'll give you the sheet that talks about what the Leavenworth rules are. What you need to know is what the inmate rules are, so you can
Right.
survive in there.
Right. So you can survive. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was the important thing of that. And he just took me there and he told me the rules, and we just, we meshed to the day I left there, just always. And, I was always to myself type of person anyway. So the type of, he just dealing with him and maybe one, and there was one other guy. I can't think of his name. He had been in there for a long, he's from Kansas City. I can't think of his name, but he came and talked to me because like I said, for the first week or so, I just slept. I just slept. I couldn't. That's all I can do, I guess, was lay in that bunk. And he's like, "Man, you got to get out.
Got to get up. Got to get out.
You got to get up. You got to get up. You got to get a routine." That's what he told me. That's what he was. He's like, "You have to get a routine to make it through this. You have to get into a routine of what you do, or else you're going to be sitting on that bed depressed and you won't make it."
And see, Randy, I think that is such a big tip for people in prison, obviously, because if you don't, you get institutionalized and all you're doing is being depressed. And you see that a lot. You either see guys making it or not making it. But I also think that says a lot just for, I notice when you get out of prison, there's a lot of that going on where people, like they are in prison, they're just not moving. They're not making a step. They're not getting into a routine. And whether you're in prison or out of prison, that routine, those habits of getting into something, feeling like you're eating some time in a good way it makes your time go faster too.
Yeah, it does. It's very important. And definitely I instill that into this day into my kids. Like, you have to get into a routine of life. You have to, when you get out of school, you have to have a routine when you get home, whether it's you sit down, you get your snack, then you do your homework, but you have to have a routine or else you can't be unorganized and all over the place. I said, so that's very, very important, definitely. And I'm glad he took, I can't, it's crazy. I know I remember him, but I cannot remember his name. Leroy.
Yeah.
Leroy. Yes. Leroy was the gentleman. Yes. And, he had been in for a long, like 20-something
time. Yeah.
Yeah. He had been down a long time. And he the one who gave me that advice, and I took it very, very well. The crazy thing is, a couple guys that I did talk to me, they actually seemed to be very genuine, good guys. Very, very good guys. And then it's crazy because the other guy who came in while we were still up there was Rio Smith. And we remain very close to this day. Actually, I actually just talked to him the other day, but even though I was there and I told him all the things, but he had been down a long time. And I'm trying to tell him the things that Martez and them gave me, but of course he already knew. But then he ended up being the one able to give me advice because he had been down 15 years.
Yeah.
But we built a bond that a lot of people build bonds in there, but once you get out, you don't never talk to him and see him ever again.
Right.
But me and his was a little different, actually, and it's because he was just genuine people. Everybody, when you go in there, you can make yourself what you kind of have what fake people do on Facebook.
Exactly.
They can make themselves what they want to be if you don't. If you don't
Everybody's a millionaire and a professional athlete, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So it's just so crazy, and I tell my fiance, I say, man, if you don't understand, you in prison, people can be in the camp. I don't know about the real big house, because Rio say at the big house is a little different. They got to show your paperwork or whatever as they call it. But at the camp, we had 1,000 millionaires, professional athletes, and just anything. So it's just amazing how that story goes.
It is, but I think one of the things, you bringing this up, I think people ask me, like, what was the biggest surprise, going into prison, and whether you're talking about the facilities or whatever, I think the biggest surprise to me is that there were some really good guys that from day one that were there to help me get into whatever this new world was. And, I think you kind of run with, 2 to 4 guys to get you through, because that's just kind of how you do it. But yeah, I was surprised about that. You know, what you see on TV and how they these inmates, and they're just horrible prison creatures. You know, you get in that world and you realize there's some people who, bad fork in the road, made a bad mistake, but they're trying to get by. You know, they're trying to get back out and trying to make, and that's why I think the whole second, chance of getting out, it's so narrow of what people have as a misconception of these people who've served time, because a lot of these guys, they're not going to go back and do that. They don't want to go back and do that. They just want a real chance to get out and go. And the reason why you end up with so many guys that are back is they don't get that chance, and so they fall back into the wrong thing again, which is
exactly. Definitely. That it is definitely unfortunate.
So you end up, Randy, and I mean, you go through, we both went through the RDAP program, which was the only way in the federal system to get a year off.
Yeah.
I think it was 9 months. We all lived in the same place, and it was, you had, your rational thinking skills and all those different things, but you did get through it. And
yeah, I got through it. I definitely got through it. The crazy thing is, Brett, I had a nightmare inside my nightmare.
Yeah.
So a lot of things, only one person, maybe, of course, my family, as far as my fiance and Rio knows this story here. So while inside of Leavenworth, I had a pending case dealing with the same situation that was in Kentucky.
Okay.
Because I got pulled over while I was in Kentucky in one of the vehicles. I had went to court for it, and it wasn't never resolved. So when this came up here, they sent me to Leavenworth or whatever. So I couldn't get into the RDAP program because of the pending case in Kentucky.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let me in. So I talked with, what was the guy's name that ran the RDAP program?
Dr.
Wells.
Dr. Wells.
Yes. He was like, well, because, they was needing people.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, I'll let you in pending that situation. And, you'll get of course, if you don't get it solved, then you can't get the time off. So I'm like, I'm good with that, because the sooner I start, the sooner my time can start. Because my understanding is the situation is getting taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out, my counselor, can't remember the lady's name, she got mad at me because I went and talked to Dr. Wells.
It's probably Alexander.
Miss Alexander, yes.
Yeah, she's a
she
woman.
Decided not to let me in. And with him from not to let me in, I was like, really? So we went through this whole thing. So I missed like 2 start things. We went through this whole thing. Now, mind you, at the same time, I'm trying to handle this case in Kentucky, because when I talked to the guy, he's like, well, what we're going to do is we're going to leave this case here. And then when you're done there, we'll pick this, we'll handle it. So they basically wanted to run consecutive.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, that's not going to work, because Dr. Wells said that's
I got to get this now, right?
Right. I got to get this situated now. So, but imagine being, of course, you know how it is in there. You only get 15 minutes on the phone per phone call. You only get certain amount of minutes time handling this. So it was not happening. It just was not happening. I couldn't put this pressure. I was trying to put not pressure, but my mom to make these calls, but they don't know who to call. They don't know what attorney trying to reach in Kentucky, and people can't physically get here. So it was just like, I'm living like another nightmare night. I'm not going to get in this program. I'm not going to, this is like, it was just stress every day. Can't sleep at night. It was just like, how are we going to, so it led me again to making a decision that I shouldn't have made, but if I never made it, I never would have got into the program. I never would have got home when I got home, and that was to get a cell phone inside of Leavenworth.
Yeah,
it was crazy. So at night, I used to literally, when I used to work on the thing, I was sneak out at night and make phone calls to try to get that situation, and that's the only way it got handled. I finally found an attorney that could handle it. And he would call me messages during the day. I would call back at night, call him. And it took like 3 weeks of us getting back and forth, and where he finally went before the judge. He called my mom, told her, I finally got a judge that will let it run concurrent with whatever he's doing there, and his time be fine. They let me into the program. But if I wouldn't have done that though, it would have been crazy. I wouldn't have the situation never would have happened. But it was like, it was like my only resort, honestly.
I remember Randy when all that was going down, because everybody was concerned about these cell phone things, and we were in the D block. So yeah. But you got to do. If you hadn't have, you would have spent a whole nother year.
A whole extra year would have been. And
things still wouldn't be resolved until you got out. So
yeah, and then I probably would have got traded. They would have picked me up the day I got out of there and transferred me to Kentucky.
And that happens too with those guys that had the child support and all those different things. Those guys get out and they pick them up at the curb, and then they take them to wherever. Yeah, no, that is. I mean, wow! Thank God you got that worked out. And you're right. You can run out of minutes real quick on the phone there, because you can't. You only talk for so long, and then you only have so many minutes a month, and that's it.
Right.
I think it's 300 minutes in the month, so 10 minutes a day.
Right. And I ran out trying to get it solved, and then you can't call the person right back or something. Yeah. I forgot what the restriction was on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Tough place to communicate.
Yes.
So you go through the program. Tell me what you're thinking. Like you're 3 months from getting out. What's going through your mind as far as getting back out?
Honestly, it's just, I'm the type of person that it's not reality until it's happened. So I was thinking all the things that was going to happen. I had the cell phone situation hanging over my head, and I was just like, is this going to come back? And I'm kind of, as I consider, a stand-up guy, and it was like, okay, do you tell these people that was yours, or do you not? I had Rio, hey, let them do their job. And then I had other guys, or hey, tell them or we are going to get in trouble.
Well, and it was a weird environment that we were in too, Randy. It's kind of hard to explain on this podcast, but you're like almost like an occult-like environment in RDAP,
right?
The morning meetings and the, standing up and shouting your number and all that. It's almost hard to I don't even know how to analogize that world that we were in, but It had to have been a tremendous amount of pressure for you at that time of how you were going to handle it. And I don't actually remember how it got resolved, to tell you the truth.
What it did was, it's crazy. It was weighing on me. I talked to Moss. Remember Moss? Mm-hmm. He's like, Randy, do what you think. You got to make a decision for you and your family.
Yeah.
And he said, but at the same time, he said, I understand the other side of you, because you don't want nobody else to fall in for something that you had going on. I said, yeah. So lo and behold, I went and talked to Dr. Wells.
Did you really?
I go in his office, Brett. I was just telling
this is the inside scoop. I didn't know any of this.
I go talk to Dr. Wells. I say, Dr. Wells, what would you do if you were in my situation? He said, Randy, I'm gonna tell you this. He said, I probably never have told nobody this before. He said, I'm gonna tell you, they're gonna send the phone away. Mm-hmm. He said, chance to come back, chance to don't come back. Mm-hmm. He said, of course they'll look at the numbers in there. He said, because the phone was locked, and they'll see if they can find the numbers, match them up with the numbers that's on your thing. Mm-hmm. He said, that can happen while you're here. That can happen while you're in the halfway house. Mm-hmm. He said, it happens in the halfway house. They're going to snatch you out the halfway house, and you come all the way back. Where you go, they ship you off somewhere else. So I'm like, but so he
That's
goes
a lot
and he
to
says,
think about.
Yeah, it's a lot. So he goes, but this is what confirmed what I should do though, Brett. He comes and he said, but if it was me, he said, you're a good guy, Randy. He said, I don't ever see you ever coming back here. Yeah. Said, if it was me, keep doing what you're doing and let the chips fall where they may. I'm like, okay, that tells me right there what I need to do.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, for him to say that to me in that situation, I was like, So I told Rio what he said. Rio was like, man, that's all. You know what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to that dorm. I think about it every day because, you know, he didn't say, hey, it's not going to happen. He said, but he told me,
anything
keep
could
doing
happen.
what you're doing. Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing. If it was me, I'll keep doing what you've been doing. And that's what I did. And even while I was in the halfway house, I was still, like I told you, I'm that type of person. It's not over until it's over.
Sure.
I'm not, you know, even though I'm home, I'm still not home in my mind. What if they come knock on that door again, that cell phone? Oh, we found that cell phone and have this number in it. And So, yeah.
You had real PTSD because you had that hanging over your head. That's really something.
Yeah.
So you got out. Who picked you up when you got out? Tell us about the day you got out.
Oh, the day I got out, I remember. And then I vowed to stay in the RDAP. And that's what it was so crazy. And I feel like he trusted me because even though I had that situation, he allowed me to stay in the RDAP thing until I went into the dorm. You know, most
really
people move back. Yeah. So I stayed in there, and that way I just had a peace of mind. When they was getting up, going to class, I just sat there in my chair. So that particular day, I gave everything away out of my bunk, out of my locker.
Yeah.
And I packed and I went. It was crazy. I never forget. Once I got to see my own clothes again that she had sent for me to wear home.
It's a great feeling.
It was like, okay, wow. So I go, I put that on, I walk down the hallway, go to there, get my stuff, and I'm just standing there waiting. And I wasn't catching the bus like you tell them that you're going to do. I had her meet me at the train station with the kids in the car. Mm-hmm. And I got in the car, and it was just like unbelievable. I just remember her saying, I remember her calling and telling her mom, I got him. I finally got him. We were on our way home, and it was just, she handed me my cell phone, and I'll never forget that ride. My kids were just all over me the whole ride home, and it was just, we just rode home, and it to me, it wasn't enough time in the world, like for that ride home and stopping, being able to get your own food and everything, which you were my Snicker guy though. I remember, you know, I was very disciplined in there. I never ate any candy, any bread, anything, but when I want that one thing, I would come to you and get a Snicker though. I'll never forget that. But so that was just amazing to get home and get to the halfway house. Didn't even matter at that point to me. It mattered because I was thinking about the thing with the cell phone, but just that environment wasn't, even though it was in the worst place that it can be in St. Louis, but it didn't bother me.
How much time did you have there at the halfway house, at the Dismas house?
I was there
not too long.
I wasn't there long, Brett. They let me, the guy was like, you know, because I got my job, held my job for me that I had. So I had a job the day I got there.
That's great, because that's the way to get out of there. Because if you aren't, they'll lock you down. A lot of people don't even think about the halfway house is in some ways more locked down than Leavenworth. You know, that you can't get past that front glassed-in area unless you got a pass.
No, it sure is. And no cell phone, same thing, none of it. So, you know, you're out, but you're not out. You're out in a worse situation.
Right, in a bad neighborhood.
Bad neighborhood, and it's just crazy. So I wasn't there maybe 2 months before they allowed me to go on house arrest. I mean home confinement.
Right.
So I did that, and I just did that, and I was just working. It was crazy. I was working so much because my job was like I said, was waiting for me, and I was working so much that they didn't want me to work. Because it was so much, like my hours, I literally had to stay out from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And they was just like, that's just too much. That's just too much. You're making me free. They were freeing you. And they didn't like it. And so my boss told him, like, hey, I can let him work like he's working because we need him, or I can let him go until he's done with the situation. My probation officer wasn't, so she called down like, we're not having that. Like, you know, if he can account for his time and his paycheck show, this is what he's doing.
And that's good.
This is what we need. This is what we need to do. She's like, you make more money than 90% of my case. I'm not going to put you in a failing position of that situation.
That's a good officer, though.
It was good. It was so great to have her stick up for me for that situation. And the owner, is so crazy, Brett. After I got off everything, we done the parking lot for the Desmo House.
No kidding.
And he came outside and he was like, wow. He said, it's good to see you. He said, I knew I would never see you ever again anyway. He said, I could just tell how you carried yourself and with the things that you did. He said, I knew I would never see you again. I said, yeah, you ain't never worry about me. Man, I had bed bug bites from in that place.
It was
awful.
Cold. The place is terrible.
Man.
It was bad, dirty, everything.
Yes.
I mean, it was worse than I mean, it had air conditioning, but it was worse than Leavenworth as far as this facility.
Hands down. Mm-hmm. Hands down.
Yeah.
And it broke your routine of me building that routine of working out, and it just, I didn't know what to do. It was kind of like, oh, you got to get out of here.
Yeah. Gotta get out. And you did the right thing, man. Getting out of there. That's the only way to get out of there is have a job, get a pass, and don't come back until it's time that you can't be out any longer.
Yes.
So Randy, tell me, man, what's going on now? Bring us full corner up front.
Yeah, just enjoying enjoying my kids, you know, like I said, just living life fully for them. And I've my youngest, me and my youngest, because you know she was born while I was inside.
Yeah.
So I actually had to listen. I had to listen to that on a phone call at Leavenworth of that happening.
Wow.
And so building a relationship with her. And, you know, and that's been, you know, it's difficult because my other two, we had that bond and that me being there. So she always feels slighted because she feels like I'm closer with them than I am with her. So that's also a situation that, you know, because of that Leavenworth situation, that it was hard at first, but now we're finally, and it's been 7 years.
Yeah.
I've been out 7 years September, but, she's starting, I guess, to feel the bond that I have with the other two, and with her, and not feeling slighted of my love and stuff like that. So that was definitely a transition and hard on both sides, you know, of stuff. So just that and working. I've been same job, been now 10 years last month. I've been on that job 10 years last month, and just bought a new home about a year ago now, and
that's awesome. I'm so proud of you, Randy, on just how you were able to keep it together too. Cause you know, so many guys, whether it's a fault or not a fault of their own, have a really hard time, keeping the family unit together. And you did that and made it you know, obviously a priority and a focus to make that work. And, you know, I think, we were on, I think last week, it was Terrell Wood Sr., and his family was talking about, or he was talking about how he made it work. And, you know, he was making phone calls, you know, from prison to the teachers, and he was staying plugged in. It's an effort that obviously you have to be able to know you're going to have to make this. But if you do, I think your kids admire you even more because they know that effort has to be made a different way, but you make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. My kids ask me all the time, so Dad, what was, you know, I'll never say I went to prison. I always say I went to camp. I had to go to camp. Right. I had to go to camp. So they, you know, so now they're the older two, they're the 12 and the 10-year-old, like, so Dad, you know, why did you have to go away to camp? Like, what was that about? So I tell them, I was like, you know, our daddy made a decision that he shouldn't have made. And, you know, that's what took me away. And I had to go. And they were like, yeah, Dad, we don't ever want you to go away again. You know, I'm like, yeah, I don't ever want to go away.
No, they probably don't want to ever go to camp.
Right.
Any camp.
Right. And that's what they say. So it's awesome, though. It is like, I couldn't ask for any more as far as still being able to be a father to them. And even with my family, having all my brothers and sister here just this past weekend, because like you said, to come from, you know, it wasn't a dire situation. I'll never over exaggerate the situation of Leavenworth, but it definitely was something that could have broke you to the point to where you just didn't get back on your feet, or you just stayed in a rut and allowed to say that society didn't allow you to come back home and make it, or take opportunities that are in front of you.
Yeah. So, Randy, I think, what do you think out of everything that you've been through, for everybody that's listening out there, what do you think your biggest takeaway is from all that you've gone through? Because I think you come out different. Like you just said, you're definitely different than when you went in. But what do you think the biggest takeaway is for you through going through all this?
The biggest takeaway for me is, and I actually just told my fiance this the other day, is we was talking about it, because she's like, you finally shared. I never really talked about specific stories inside of Leavenworth.
Yeah.
I just might be general about it. And I said, what I take away from it is, I learned that nothing comes before family, and that a man should be there to provide for his family, and that getting money the correct way is more, and being able to lay your head down at night and not worry about that knock on that door is more important than anything. I don't care if you can't pay a bill or something. It's better to get up and go to work and know that check that might come at whatever day it comes is going to come, and then instead of somebody knocking on that door and making the bad decision. I mean, it's nothing like that peace of mind, and knowing that you are physically there to take care and help your family and your kids, instead of having to do it by the phone or whatever. Because nothing replaces your presence. Nothing can replace your presence of being there. So but I also tell her I never will take away the fact of going through that, because I feel like it changed me to make me the father that I am, and to respect, what needs to happen and in the household and everything. I would never, if I didn't go through that, I probably still would be the person that I was prior to that, making the wrong decisions.
Yeah. Wow.
So I never would take that away ever. That experience was needed, and I would go through it again if it would help me be the person that I am now.
Wow, I like it. I mean, and Randy, I think my feeling the whole time I was around you, when I felt like you were one of the good guys, and you've gone and you've done, and I follow you on Facebook. You got family and you got things going on, and your life looks good, and you deserve it, man. It's good. I like it.
I appreciate it. I like it. And I definitely always thought the same about you. And I used to see your family, and I feel like I'm definitely, I feel like I'm the type of person, I just sit back and I observe. And, I look at things. I don't talk much, but I just observe and I take it in. And I could definitely tell you're a good guy. Your family, your kids, your wife, they loved you. And I definitely, I admire that. And yeah, definitely, you could look at some of the people, know that they don't belong here. Something happened, and they made a bad decision and whatever.
Yep. I appreciate you being on. Folks, if you're looking for a book out there, I've got one. I wrote one. It's called Nightmare of Success. Loving the likes. And if anybody wants to go to my website, check it out. Got a lot of things on there. If you want to stop and leave a review on Apple or Spotify, I'd love that. And like I used to say in prison, when I was sending out my emails, stay strong, and I'll do the same. Randy, thanks for being on. Appreciate it.
No problem, Brett. Thank you.
Nightmare Success in and out, folks.